This conference will now be recorded.
All
Okay,
right,
thank
go
you
for
very
it, Bob.
much, Kim. I want to welcome everybody to our presentation tonight, The Thunder Through the Years. Uh, Before we get started with our presentation, though, we do want to let you know about an upcoming program that we have on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, which you can also register for if you're interested. It's called History Uncovered, and the background is that in a dusty basement, a long forgotten mural depicting George Washington crossing the Delaware is rediscovered by a local historian. How did she track it down, and how is Taylor Porkroll part of the story? Ewing historian Pat Millen and executive director of the Washington Crossing Park Association, Annette Earling, will describe the detective work that was involved and what's next for this exciting discovery. I thought that'd be a good one to mention to everybody since Porkroll is involved, and we know that Porkroll is involved with the Trenton Thunder as well. And on that note, we have a couple of guests lined up live with us tonight. One who you can see right now is Jeff Hurley, and he is the president, now in his 19th year with the Trenton Thunder, a Hamilton native. He started with the team in 2004 as a group sales representative, media relations assistant, community relations, and baseball operations manager. Uh, has done a myriad of jobs. In September of 2015, he was named the general manager, chief operating officer, and is now the president of the team. And in 2018, he was voted by the Eastern League as the executive of the year. We also hope to have Eric Lipsman with us, and he may be here soon, but he'll jump on when he can. And Jeff, thanks so much for taking part and being here with us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
So one of the things that we also want to let people know is we have some pre-recorded interviews with former players, and just to go over a little bit of the history of the Thunder, or maybe um, the team came about in 1994 and was an affiliate of the Detroit Tigers. So they had one season. The London Tigers moved to Trenton. And Jeff, maybe you could talk a little bit about the background on how the Thunder came to be and getting ready for that first year.
Yeah, a little bit before my time, but certainly back in the late 80s, early 90s, the goal was to bring baseball to Trenton, minor league baseball. And the great thing about this is that the gentlemen that brought baseball to Trenton are the same ownership group that we have today. So while there was a team owned in London, Ontario, as the Tigers affiliates, the owners of the Trenton Thunder had purchased the team from London, their ownership group, and at that time, and Eric's on, so he might be able to touch a little bit more. But they played a year or two in London, and then when the ballpark was ready here, moved down here in 1994.
And as people can see, as he gets settled in, we also have Eric Lipsman with us. And Eric is probably one of the best historians we could have on the Thunder because he's been there since the very beginning. Currently Senior Vice President of Corporate Sales. He is the last remaining member of the original Thunder front office. Started in 1993 as Director of Marketing and Merchandising, and he oversees all aspects of marketing for the team. And I understand, Eric, you also share an office with the Thunder Batdogs, Rookie and Dash, correct?
Yeah, actually, I believe Rookie's on the floor right here, right now, sleeping in front of me.
One
I
of the
don't know.
great
I don't know where Dash has gone to.
one of the great aspects of the Thunder, the Batdogs. Eric, so Jeff was alluding a little bit to that opening year, and as somebody who kind of went through it, can you give us a little bit of your memories on just getting ready for that first season and the team coming to be?
It was very, very hectic because our front office didn't start till after Thanksgiving. We finally hired our GM, Wayne Hodis, our AGM, Brian Mahoney, Tom McCarthy, Phillies broadcaster now, was our PR director. Nick Simonetta, his sidekick on the radio, and Todd Pay, our stadium operations director, came from the Clearwater Phillies, and myself, and we called ourselves the starting five, and we started, and we worked in the office building next to where the stadium was being built. We actually had to take space from some of the Mercer County people. They put us in like a small little room, and we were always bumping into each other. and every day we would work in there and try and go out to meet with potential clients, and we had nothing to show them except like a rendering what the stadium was going to look like, and we were very lucky that people were so hungry for baseball to come to Trenton that we were able to get a lot of great clients, many of whom were still with us, 29 years later, who were still with us, and we would go out every day and walk out of the office and watch the construction of the stadium. And then, of course, we got hit with the worst winter with snow beyond belief, and it just affected the whole thing. We knew we would never make opening day, and then we ended up having to open up our season in Wilmington, Delaware, using the Blue Rock Stadium.
But there must have been something really special about kind of being somebody that's on the ground, being part of something starting up like that, just watching it all come together. And then eventually, I think it was delayed by a few weeks, but eventually you did get into the stadium and see the crowds come pouring in.
Yes, yeah, we finally actually, well, our opening night was a total disaster when the Albany Yankees manager refused to play because the outfield was like moving. It just the turf was everywhere, and then he refused to play, and then we ended up going playing our Reading series in Reading, playing our New Britain series in New Britain, and it was an exciting time. But the stadium was a construction site pretty much for the entire 1994 season. We didn't move into our offices till after the season was over.
Were you surprised as once it did get going and the stadium was up that the success that you had? Did you anticipate having the crowds come in the way they did once you finally got settled in the ballpark?
We knew it was going to be good, and we saw from the early crowds, and the team was horrible, except for Tony Clark. We had probably the worst team in the league. We had the worst record in the league, but amazingly, 7 other guys on that team made it to the majors, which I still to this day can't understand. And we had a very lucky thing happen, and that was the major league players went on strike in August, and then we were the only game in town, and soon you couldn't get a ticket to a Thunder game because of that. And that because that happened, then the next few years people said, hey, this is great, let's look at how much fun we're having, look at how great the stadium is, how great the pricing is. And when the Red Sox came in '95, the stadium was finished. We had a new affiliate and some potential future all-stars, and Nomar Garciaparra and Jeff Supan and Trot Nixon, and it was a go from that moment on.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit more as we go on about like the game day experience and what it's like being at the Thunder. But one of the things we want to do before that is I had a chance to talk with one of the members of that initial team, Mike Guilfoyle, who made the All-Star team that year and was a pitcher for the team. He was a New Jersey native, and we had a chance to talk to him, and we're going to play that interview for everybody now, and then we'll come back after that. So we're joined now by Mike Guilfoyle, who was a member of the first team to play in Trenton, the first Trenton Thunder team in 1994. Mike led the team, 42 games pitched, won 7, saved 5, tied for second on the team with 7 wins. Very impressive. And Mike, you had played for the London, were they the Tigers? The London Tigers?
Yeah, we were called the London Tigers. Yeah, it was Eastern League as well, Double A in '93. I got called up like a month into the season up there.
So you were one of the guys who got to experience playing in London and then went from London to Trenton, and maybe tell us a little bit about what that transition was like and what it was like being part of that first team to play as the Trenton Thunder.
It was cool, being, I grew up in New Jersey, so I grew up in Jersey City, and Bayonne, and I remember that spring they were like, yeah, you guys are going to Trenton this year, Double A, and I was like, I'm not going to Trenton, I'm going to Triple A, and they had it, came down to the last day, they sent me like, hey, you're going down to Trenton, and I was like, okay, good, and I was like, what a great thing to fall back on, because my family was excited, everybody got excited about it, and and as soon as we got there, myself and Joe Delicari, we were the only 2 New Jersey guys on the team, so we got a lot of hype for it. A lot of people gave us calls, and we were, it's just right away, the media and everything, the news people, they went right after the Jersey guys, asking us how it feels having a new stadium and all this, and playing in Trenton and being in New Jersey. And back then, there wasn't many minor league teams in New Jersey. I don't think there was any, but it was a big deal. It was especially going up to opening day. There was a lot of hype, a lot of media coverage nationwide too. It was, it was a big deal, and everyone was there. And then obviously, I don't know if you remember the complications with the stadium, turned
I
it into a
remember that.
little bit of a hard first 2 months, because we were on the road practically the whole entire month. But
Right, you had to
again,
play played a lot of games on the road, played some at Mercer County Park, I think, right, in the beginning, and then
yeah, and then they offered us. We played at the Vet in Philadelphia. We had a doubleheader down there. We played and used that was our home field. That was pretty cool. The experience being in an older big league stadium was, really good. As a matter of fact, I wound up getting 2 saves in that day in a doubleheader, so it was real exciting. But
and it was nice too, because you played with some guys who turned out to be great major leaguers, and then I think the next year, was it the next year or the year after, you got up to Toledo, had a pretty good minor league career, and then you went to the independent league and were one of the best players in the Atlantic League. Made their silver anniversary team. But I guess that 1 year in Trenton did it catapult you to anything, or was it anything
yeah, I had
baseball
it.
wise?
The year before, I was in London, and I was trying to get, and it moving up a level, or every level is a difficult, and it's a hard adjustment. And I when I got to London, I was a little slow. I did okay, but Detroit at that time had other plans for me, and I made that AA adjustment. And when I was in Trenton, that was the big adjustment, because I did wind up next year. I'm probably the only guy that's was in the same organization in AA for 3 years and played in 3 different cities. Because I went from London to Trenton, and then the next year we moved to Jacksonville, Florida. And then I played a season in Jacksonville, and with the strike and everything, players weren't moving around, and so I wound up spending another 3rd year in AA. And I between my Trenton year and my Jacksonville year, I pretty much did really well. I did, it solidified that they were going to put me in Toledo the next year.
You probably are the answer to a trivia question, right? The only guy ever to play 3 years for the same organization in AA.
Yeah,
Because the Thunder were a Tiger affiliate just that 1 year, and then the next year they became the Red Sox.
Mm-hmm.
So do you
it
have
was fun
any?
too. I got to represent Trenton as an all-star too. I made the all-star team that year.
Oh, that's great.
Me, Kenny Carlisle, and Tony Clark, I think, made it, and we were the first ever all-stars in Trenton Thunder history. So it's like I could say, hey, yeah, I was an all-star with Jeter and and, and some of the Boston guys,
And do you remember anything just about, like, do you have some memories of what because I know that the community really embraced the team right from the start. I mean, once they got moved into Waterfront Park, that the attendance was off the charts. I mean, do you have memories of just what that was like?
It was to me, that was the beginning of how minor league baseball was. That's what it was like. In London, we didn't really have a big crowd. The Florida State League, no one came to them games because it was 150 degrees every day. But London and Trenton did bring that community aspect, and we had a really good fan base. I mean, it was there's a certain area of Trenton where there was a lot of nice little restaurants and everything we used to go to all the time, and everybody, like, you'd walk in and people would clap for you or buy you dinner, and it was a really nice aspect that even though Trenton has its reputation of being a rough city, the community, when people saw us out and stuff like that, they treated us like gold. It was a really nice, like, newer aspect to, like, minor league baseball for me, because I was kind of like the old school early 90s. You made your $800 a month, and you went to the hotel room and you ate McDonald's. You didn't have any money to do anything. But all of a sudden now Trenton had sponsors, and they had people wanted us to do appearances at their restaurants or shows and stuff like that. And we were a busy team. We had a lot of fun. There's a lot of good guys, and people were not complaining about the community and the fan base at all there. There was never a problem there.
And it was the start of, as you said, at that time there weren't many minor league teams in New Jersey, but then Lakewood popped up, and there were all of a
Yeah.
sudden there's about 6 different, Camden had a team in the Atlantic
Yeah.
League, and Somerset, and all of
Yeah,
a sudden,
Atlantic League took over. We
yeah,
basically had Newark. At one point, we had Newark, Atlantic City, Camden, and Somerset.
and there was a
So
team, there was a team down in Atlantic City. They were all over the place, and then,
yeah,
but that was, like you said, kind of the boom of minor league baseball when it really started to take off.
yeah. Because back then you always thought like, oh, deep in the Carolinas, Tennessee, and everybody's out west, and driving buses for 24 hours, and we had the Eastern League that year had nice little, we had a good little, you know, uh, base of teams going up the coastline. It was really good all the way. Portland, Maine was a new team that year, and the Eastern League was a very good and very competitive league. It still is. I mean, I still follow it, and you see a lot of top-notch players come through, and I just think playing on the East Coast, you have to have a little different mojo and mentality about it.
That's right. That's right. And like you said, being a New Jersey guy like you were, it was probably nice, as you said, getting to play. Your family could get to the games, and it was nice.
Yeah.
You weren't. I'm sure they didn't get to as many games in London or Jacksonville the year afterwards, right?
No one basically. Yeah, Trenton was the big, like, people would just drive down for like an hour. Like my brother was a Jersey City cop. He used to have like the whole half the force. I'd be on the ticket, on the pass list. I'm writing out free tickets for like 25 Jersey City cops, and they really enjoyed it. My
Yep.
family enjoyed it a lot, and the stadium did have that electricity about it. With the river there and everything like that. It was nice.
Were you there to witness the first home run that got hit into the river? Wasn't that Tony Clark did that? Somebody did that. Somebody hit the first home run
Yeah,
into the
I
river.
I I do. Yeah,
Hopefully you weren't pitching for
unfortunately,
that.
I think I was the first one to give one up into the river. That stairs took me halfway home. I think he crossed the border into Pennsylvania. He hit it. I remember turning, and that thing that splashed in a hurry. But I do remember Tony doing it, and and I know Matt Stairs got me. And funny, like, when we played in the All-Star game, our lockers were next to each other that year too, and I was like, dude, you hit that ball a mile. He goes, him in a Canadian accent. It's like, that's all right. I got lucky. He's a
Mike,
nice guy.
we appreciate you taking the time to talk to us a little bit about your memories of Trenton Thunder, and it's great to see the franchise still chugging along too as they go into
Yeah.
30 years.
And now it's like prospect players. A lot of young guys get an opportunity to go up there and play free draft.
Yep, the draft
what it
league, and
I'll tell you what,
players get looked at.
that's a great idea too. I mean, to put kids in a stadium like that and they get to experience a little bit. It's a true minor league park.
Right.
I was just
And
down there a couple months ago, and my daughter had a cheerleading competition in Trenton, and we drove by the stadium, and I took a picture of it.
show her the mound where you pitched from, right?
Yeah,
So,
she's like sitting there, go, "That's Daddy's field." So,
all right. Well,
we
thank you
love it.
so much for taking the time, and good luck. Good luck down the road. Thanks so much to Mike for taking the time to talk to us. And Jeff, one of the things that he touched on a little bit that I wanted to ask you about too is it seems like the community team relationship is really strong with the Thunder. It's been that way forever. Is that something that you've seen in the time that you've been there too? Just the players seem to enjoy being part of the organization.
Yeah, I think that's what makes the Trenton Thunder so special is how we entrench ourselves in the community. And it started back in 1994 with, as Eric said, the starting five or the originals and that. And it's never lost its luster. The community is such a big part for us. And that stretches beyond Trenton into Mercer, Bucks, Burlington counties. We want to be there for the community. We want to, through our 501c3 Grand Slam We Care Foundation, try and offer the services that we can, make as many donations as we can, whether it's through tickets or, merchandise or something like that. It's just a big thing. And we saw it on the flip side during COVID. And when unfortunately the Yankees had left Trenton, the community never went away. We still have fans coming through our gates. And that's the cool thing to see is, during this time, the fans and the community has stayed with us. And, when we're affiliated, hopefully sooner rather than later, we're going to see it even bigger and better. So, yeah, it's a priority for us, the community, and we've shown that for the last 30 years.
Well, the team's drawn over 10 million fans in its time there, and I know, I think it was the first 14 full seasons. Eric, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but he had over 400,000 fans every year. Those, not counting the first one that was kind of abbreviated, but the Red Sox came to town, and then eventually the Yankees, and the sustained success that you guys had was pretty remarkable.
Yeah, that was the number. We had to get to 400,000 every single season, and the best thing was, as horrible as the first season was, where we had rainouts. It would have rained on a Wednesday, and we were playing the Portland Sea Dogs. I'll never forget this. Charles Johnson was with them, and it had rained like 2 days before. The field was in such bad shape. For the next 2 days, we couldn't play. It was sunny, beautiful, and we had to cancel the games because it was everything that could go wrong in '94 just happened to happen. And then in '95, things just went wonderful. We had no rainouts. We went the entire season without rain. As a matter of fact, Wayne Hoyt, our general manager, he got the nickname No Rain Wayne because he never would cancel a game. And that from that point on, as with the Red Sox in, and crowds were going through the roof, and we had 400,000 fans, and it just continued year after year.
What do you remember about the excitement level of when because I'm sure you had a good relationship with the Tigers, but then when it went from Tigers to Red Sox, did the excitement level jump quite a bit within the organization? Knowing that the Red Sox were going to be part of it.
Yeah, it did because they had names. They had the big name, Nomar Garciaparra, their number one prospect, future All-Star. Everybody, that's all they were talking about was we had Nomar. Nomar was coming here. Then we expected Trot Nixon, who came up from, I believe they were in Sarasota. Their Red Sox single A was in Sarasota that year, and then he came up in the middle of the season. Jess Suppan, who was like 19 years old, actually went from the Thunder to the Red Sox in the middle of the season. Took Al Nipper, our pitching coach, with him, and so the fans now said, "Oh, this is really the top prospects are now with the Thunder," and it just developed from there as the names became more and more recognizable.
And so the Red Sox were part of it from 1995 to 2002. Made the Eastern League playoffs 3 times, and the last 2 years that they were in Trenton, one of the players was a Hamilton Township native named Jerry Salzano. He played locally in high school. He got to play for 2 years with the as a Red Sox in the organization with the Thunder, and we had a chance to talk to Jerry for a few minutes. Caught up with him about his experience with playing for the Thunder, and we'll check in with that chat right now. Maybe. All right, we're joined now by Jerry Salzano, another local product who got to spend some of his minor league career with the Trenton Thunder. Jerry, thanks a lot for taking the time to join us.
Absolutely.
So Jerry was drafted by the Milwaukee Brewers in 1992, started his career with them, kind of played for a number of affiliates, and then spent his last 2 years of his minor league career with the Thunder in 2001, played in 125 games. And then the next year, 2002, 121 games, 11 homers, 66 RBIs. So Jerry, maybe if you could talk a little bit about like your career, and then was it exciting for you to kind of get to eventually play pretty much in your hometown?
Yeah, so I had a pretty long career, for I guess 11 years in the minor leagues, and extremely exciting. Finish it up in Trenton, kind of by design. I wanted to be closer to home. Well, I thought it'd be more more exciting to be closer at home. Live at home and just drive to the ballpark every single day. So,
And it must have been fun too for your family and friends to get they could just hop in the car and take a 10-minute ride and watch you play anytime they wanted.
Absolutely. So yeah, 20 minutes from the ballpark in any direction.
What was it like those couple of years? I mean, you played for a number of different minor league teams, organizations. Was there anything that kind of stood out for you in terms of playing in Trenton and just the experience overall?
Well, it's your hometown. After a game, I didn't have to go back to a hotel room or an apartment. I get to go to my own house and own bed, which was awesome. Restaurants, I knew it was open late at night. That made it pretty easy, or home cooked meals. So it was really good. I played in a lot of historic ballparks too, as well. I mean, I don't know at that time if there was a ballpark I didn't play in. So I got to play in a lot of them. But Trenton was at the time when I was at Trenton, it was pretty much I guess anywhere from 4,000 up every single night. It didn't matter what night of the week it was on, which was great. There was a lot of times you played in some ballparks that would be more in the 800,
Right.
800 range. So it was nice to play more in front of a lot more fans when I was at Trenton.
And some of the other guys we've talked to too have said, because of I guess you were kind of still there when it was not really new, but I mean, the team was relatively new. The ballpark was new. I mean, just kind of that experience of getting to play kind of in a newer ballpark. And like you said, it gets with pretty big crowds every night.
Yeah, so they at that time, well, I guess they came in. I don't know the exact year, but it was Detroit Tigers. It might have been like around 95, 96, right?
94, I think, was the first year. Yep.
94. And it was a newer stadium at the time, so everything was perfect. And when I left, it was still one of the newer stadiums. I'm sure now that more and more stadiums are getting erected, and they're getting nicer and nicer. I mean, I played when I was in AAA. I was in AAA a couple different years. The stadiums were there were nicer stadiums than Trenton, but not too many in the International League. But not too many. I would say that they would have been able to play in the AAA realm if they increased their seating
Right.
in the outfield.
Now, you were a right-handed hitter, correct?
Yes.
So you never had the opportunity to hit a home run into the river.
No, I hit a couple out to right, but never good
We've
enough.
talked to a couple pitchers who gave up home runs into the river, so it would have been nice if we had a hitter on who got to hit one in. But that's more of a left-handed batter kind of thing.
Yeah, it was. That's still a great shot if you are a left-handed hitter, man. That's pretty far out there.
How about like just and you also got to play with some pretty impressive players right along the way during those couple of years with Trenton, some of the guys that came through.
Trenton, as well as everywhere else I played with, basically the whole realm of players in that era had to come up at some time, and I got to be affiliated with a lot of the players.
Right. And now are you?
Especially in the Eastern League, there was a ton of, not so much on Trenton, but just in the league itself. There was a ton of players.
And now have you still stayed involved with baseball since you got out of playing?
Yes. So I do only baseball now. I do hitting classes and stuff like that, personalized training.
That's great. So you've been able to stay involved with the game, and now do you get a chance to get over to Trenton much anymore to watch any games after you retired?
Well, I had a couple players in the minor leagues that were coming through Trenton that I was actually working with at sometimes, and I would go to the games and go watch them play.
It was nice of you to take a little time to talk to us. I mean, it's been kind of great that people kind of forget that we've had some great minor league baseball here right in our local area for almost 30 years. Some great players have passed through, and it was great that you had a chance to play a couple of years with them. And thanks so much for taking a little time to talk to us.
You got it. Thanks a lot for having me.
So after the Red Sox were here, then the Yankees came to town, and Eric and Jeff, you guys can both kind of talk about that. What was it like when? I mean, as big as it probably was to have the Red Sox, when you then became the Yankees, what was that transition like for you guys?
It was, I mean, talk about a media event. Just the announcement of when we did it. We had it up in our Stadium Club restaurant, which became the Yankee Club. We had Governor McGreevy at the time, owner, all three of our owners, Joe Finley, Joe Caruso, and Joe Palmieri, all were there, and Brian Cashman was there, Lon Truss from the Yankees. Yeah, they brought Yogi Berra, and they brought Doc Gooden. So it was a press conference that was absolutely amazing, and yeah, and everybody wanted to get Yogi's autograph. Everybody wanted to, and first thing we did was put a Thunder hat on Yogi and get pictures of him, and then brought him down onto the field. And it was just an amazing thing because it was the Yankees, and here we were in the heart of Yankee territory, and they were going to be our major league affiliate after the 8 years with the Red Sox. So it was big news. And the first year in 2003, we had the most unbelievable rehab of having Derek Jeter with the team for 5 games. And what a start with your new affiliate.
And Jeff, that was right around the time that you came on board with the Thunder, right? So you got to be part of all that excitement.
Yeah, I started in 2004, so I missed Jeter Mania, even though I got to experience it again in 2011 when he came back. But yeah, and I think Eric touched on something. They were not good teams when the Yankees first came to town. They had some good prospects on the team, but I started in 2004 with Dioner Navarro and Robinson Cano and Chen Ming Wang, who were on that team, which turned out to have good major league careers, and we were a losing team. And then in 2005 is when we started to get these prospects and win, and it was fun. It was fun to watch, and you never knew what rehab would come and what top prospect would be with you leading into the season.
Well, I believe it. So the Thunder were affiliated with the Yankees from 2003 to 2019, 4 league championships, including 2019, and reached the postseason 11 times. So maybe if the first year or two weren't great, I mean, the teams overall, talk about a sustained level of success, right? You guys had it on the field and off the field.
Well, the Yankees, they always had good prospects, especially at that level. But they had great coaching as well. We were lucky enough to have Tony Franklin with us, who's now in our Trenton Hall of Fame, has his number retired, number 18, one of I think 4 or 5 in our ballpark. And we were lucky enough to win championships under him, and always have a top team. It was who was going to be playing. In the postseason, the Trenton Thunder would, because of the players that we had, and it goes along to coaches and crew there. We were able to win, I think, 07, 08, what was it, 13 and 19. So it was a lot of fun to watch these players when they were prospects. They weren't names yet, especially to the casual baseball fan. And then all of a sudden, come 2015, and we get Aaron Judge, which was, at that time, he was one of the bigger, prospect hypes, and then Gleyber Torres a year or two later. So we've certainly had, even with the Red Sox back when Eric said the Tigers, we've certainly had a lot of good ball players come through Trent.
Eric, do you have any of the time with the Yankees? Do you have anything that stands out to you that you kind of remember more than some of the other things?
Well, the Jeter rehab in 2003 was beyond belief. It was absolutely like I could say like the Beatles came to town, or like Taylor Swift the other day. I mean, the place was packed. You couldn't move. People were begging for tickets, and he was like the biggest star. And then came a month later, Bernie Williams did a rehab, and then each year we'd have a few. I mean, and the next big event was when Roger Clemens came to pitch in 2006, and it was televised nationally on MLB Network. So we've had some of the biggest names: Mark Teixeira, Hideki Matsui, well, of course Robinson Cano and Chen Ming Wang came through the Thunder. And then, like Jeff mentioned, as the Yankees started to, because in the early days the Yankees would trade away all the top prospects. So everybody was saying, who are you going to trade this year? And then the Thunder would end up with with a lousy team. Our first 2 years with Stump Merrill, we were as a manager former Yankee manager, we were pretty bad. But then Bill Massey came in and things started proving, and guys like Phil Hughes and Jabba Chamberlain and Ian Kennedy. And as we started to get the top prospects, the team got better, and we started making the playoffs every single year. And then we lucked out had getting Tony Franklin as our manager. And in 2007, we won our first championship and repeated in 2008. So yeah, I guess the biggest events were the Jeter rehabs. The Clemens rehab was amazing. And then, of course, when Jeter came back again a few years later, and plus we also had A-Rod twice, once before the suspension and once after the suspension.
That's one of the things with minor league baseball too, that I don't remember it from way back, but it seems to have gotten to be a bigger thing, right? With major league players going down and doing, I mean, that's got to be such a boon to a franchise, right? You guys are doing well already in Trenton, and then you get some of these stars coming through for 2-3 games. That's got to create quite a bit of havoc behind the scenes, I would think.
It's a preparation nightmare. But in a good way. Yeah, the cool thing is you do get the crowds, obviously, Jeter or A-Rod and stuff like that. You get the media attention. It just brings another dynamic to, what we're already preparing for behind the scenes with our staff.
Jeff's having a little bit of an issue there with his internet connection, so we'll get back to Jeff in a moment. But we did have a chance to catch up and talk with one of the players who played for the Yankees when they were in Trenton, a local resident, Ewing resident, played at the pitch for the Hun School, Steve Garrison, and we had a chance to talk to him. And here's our chat with Steve Garrison. We're joined now by Steve Garrison, who is a local that a lot of people might know. He grew up in Mercer County, pitched at the Hun School of Princeton. In 2005, he got drafted by the Milwaukee Brewers, went from there to the Padres, ended up with the New York Yankees organization, and in 2011 was a member of the Trenton Thunder. Started 16 games that year for the Thunder, and then later that year made his major league debut pitching for the Yankees. And Steve, nice to have you with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
One of the things I was curious about is growing up in Mercer County. Like, were you a Thunder follower even before you got into professional baseball? Had you gone to a lot of games as a kid?
Yeah, for sure. I grew up in Ewing, so it was literally a 10-minute drive to the stadium. So it was always something that you did, especially as like you would go to little league teams and even your elementary schools. We would have class trips to a Thunder game. And so, yes, I did. And it was always kind of cheaper and easier to go there as opposed to kind of going to the Phillies or up to New York.
So when you had the opportunity to get to play in Trenton, probably in front of a lot of family, friends, what was that like just the first couple times you got out there?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of surreal, to be honest. The first time, initially you get really excited and then you realize, oh, wait, I actually have to perform and actually have to work. So when, you're leaving all these tickets for fans and family and friends and people that you kind of remember, it's an added stress that you might not be used to, but it was definitely a blessing and definitely something I am thankful for and I did enjoy.
Do you have any memories of like specific games that when you were playing for the Thunder, or just like the whole kind of experience overall?
I definitely have moments and memories, whether it was a good moment or a bad moment. I definitely there are a few. I still remember, speaking of me going there as an elementary school student, kind of, I think I was in third grade when I went there for the first time as a field trip. That same kind of day happened when I was pitching and I was playing, and all the elementary school students were there at the stadium, and it helped relax me when I realized that when I was that age, I wasn't really caring about the game anyway. I was more worried about if I could get food and more worried about if I could go hang out around the concourse. So that was kind of a surreal experience, kind of full circle. But and then I also remember getting up a couple home runs into the river. So I used to. There's a bunch, so a wide range of memories. I also, I told you earlier that I met my wife there. So she was actually the the announcer that did like, now doing the Dizzy Bat Race. And so we've, we're getting ready. We're expecting our second child coming up here and later this spring. So very thankful then in the long run that I was able to play there.
It must have been quite a wedding reception for you guys then, Dizzy Bat races and all kinds of exciting stuff.
Well, I mean, yes, but the funny thing is that she doesn't even really like sports. She just kind of was doing it, and they asked her to be the on the field girl when she was kind of in behind the scenes. And we didn't really start talking to the following off season because we had some mutual friends, but that was where we met. And so it was, we made sure to keep baseball out of the ceremony and kind of the all those celebrations.
We talked to Mike earlier, and he was like you. He was kind of well traveled, played for a bunch of different minor league organizations. You played for a few after the Thunder, and he kept coming back to like just how, as an organization, it was such a class organization and different than a lot of his other minor league experiences. Did you get that same feeling?
Oh, absolutely. And I was fortunate enough to be from the area. So when, they would ask me to, maybe go. So I went and threw out, the ceremonial first pitch at my old little league in Ewing, and they were all there with Boomer, and they had, or not, the Thunder. Is it Boomer? It is Boomer, isn't it?
Boomer.
Boomer.
I think they
Thank
call
you.
him Boomer. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, thank you. So the mascot was there, and just having, they were genuinely happy for me to be able to kind of be in those situations. So I was very thankful for that. And so, yes, they always kind of did care about the guys and care about, not only them as their product, but as kind of them as people.
And you're still involved in baseball because you work at the Hun School now in Princeton, associate director of admissions, but you're also coaching baseball. So you've never, well, your wife might not be a sports fan. You haven't gotten the baseball out of your blood yet, right?
No, it's still part of my life. And actually, over this past winter, one of the like youth teams that I was training kind of organized, we actually used the Thunder's batting cages. So that was another kind of thing that was very interesting this winter, pulling into the same parking lot, walking into the same entrance as I did when I played, and then going to the batting cages. New batting cages, newer than when I was there, but it was definitely kind of a surreal experience then again too.
Yeah, I think it's always nice when, there've been a few guys over the years, local guys who grow up kind of getting to watch the team and then go into games and then getting to play for them. So that's got to be, like you mentioned earlier, just kind of a great experience to kind of come full circle with that.
It really is, and then being able to like, I hope to be able to tell my kids that, and like, and even now whenever we drive past, my wife and I to tell my daughter, this is where mommy and daddy met, and it's pretty cool to be able to talk about that. And I feel like, just the experience and the feeling that you get when you go into that place is very special.
All right, Steve, thanks a lot for taking the time to join us and talk to us, and congratulations on a great career in baseball, and hope you continue that success over there with the Hun Raiders.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Bob, and thanks again for having me. I really appreciate it.
So Steve had a chance to spend a year with the Thunder, and so that he was part of the Yankee team, which we talked a little bit about how the Yankee affiliation, how great it was for the Thunder. And then after the 2019 season, when they left 2020, I would imagine, Jeff, you were kind of in limbo a little bit, but then somebody must have been looking over the Thunder because you had that season with the Buffalo Bisons came to town. What was that? That must have just been one hectic, crazy spring for you guys.
It was. COVID hit, and we lost our season, and then the Yankees left. So it was certainly a not a fun year for us or anyone. And then in the winter of leading into 2021, we were going to be the MLB Draft League, and we connected with the Toronto Blue Jays, knowing they had COVID restrictions of playing in Canada, and we were lucky enough to have them. And it was certainly a interesting aspect of we had our schedule out already. We had to adjust our schedule for the Blue Jays. We had to find another home for our draft league. So it was a lot of behind the scenes work, and we were also opening a month earlier. So, but that experience was cool. Working with the Blue Jays, working with AAA ball players, it was a learning experience for me. I'd never done that before. I've always been on the AA level, and it certainly is different. It's different baseball, and so for that, and then having to get through COVID, and the fans having pods and things like that, it was a logistical nightmare in some ways, but we pulled it off, and I think we really impressed the Toronto Blue Jays, and have a new friend out of it.
And that was, I think, I think Jerry, or one of the players, former players we talked to earlier, who, you know, all these guys bounced around the different levels, but they always seem to come back to the fact, the Trenton ballpark, the way they were treated as a player by the organization. I mean, that's something that you guys have to hang your hat on, right? That that these guys leave, and down the road they still think so fondly of their experience.
Yeah, we know their goal is baseball, and they certainly will get involved in the community stuff like that, and we want to treat them the way that they should be treated, and we want to make sure that we keep that relationship, because you never know years down the road when you're going to reach out and ask for a favor, whether it's to do a video or something like that. And a lot of our players, you saw, Steve, who was most recent, that was there when I worked there, is a great person to help out. And he was always one to catch first pitches, to go on appearances and things like that. So, we were just able to keep a lot of those relationships.
Yeah, to reiterate what Jeff was saying, 21 was a very unique year because of COVID, the restriction of nobody could go down to the clubhouse because of the strict restrictions, and it was in AAA. I mean, we were players with us, in AA. Players move up to AAA. Now here we are AAA, and they're going right from us to the majors and back. And it was a very, very unique year. Even to the effect, I remember as the players came into the hallway for the clubhouse, I had to sit there and take everybody's temperature before they could go back there. If their temperature was over a certain degree, then we had to tell the trainer, and they couldn't come in. But it was just a very, very odd year. But having AAA was amazing. Really, really enjoyed it, especially when like a team like Scranton came in, because they were all former Thunder players on there, and it was just a unique thing for us.
And now the Thunder have transitioned into being part of the Major League Baseball Draft League, which is a 6-team league where you have a split season amateur professional format. First half is the MLB draft season, has draft eligible players aiming to improve their stock ahead of the Major League draft. Then you switch to more professional format in the second half. And as someone who's been to a few of the games, I've always been excited. Baseball, I'll go watch anybody, but I was very impressed with the fact that it was still seemed like the same Thunder experience, right? Like maybe these guys aren't a step or two away from the major leagues yet, but going to the ballpark, you're still enjoying yourself. It's still, I guess, that same Thunder experience that you guys have had for the 28 years prior.
Well, I mean, that's what we've always been known for since 1994, is our Thunder entertainment experience. Our fans know Boomer and our Bat Dogs more than they know who our center fielder is, and that's never going to change. Our main goal is to end up as an affiliate sometime soon, but until then, we still want to be here to entertain the crowds that come in, and we're always keeping the family affordable, family fun environment. And we know not everybody's a baseball fan, but they can come for fireworks. It's just a way for them to escape and enjoy themselves for a night. And the great thing about our area is we have great baseball fans. Whether they're Phillies, Mets, Yankees, Red Sox, whoever it is, they're just baseball fans in general, and they just want to be at the ballpark for a summer night.
And this year, the season will kick off on June 1st. The Thunder will be hosting the Frederick Keys, and I know you mentioned earlier that it's fireworks night. And although you have a lot of fireworks nights, don't you? They're very popular.
Yeah,
I know that.
I believe we have 14 this year.
14 fireworks nights. So that's
Yeah.
great. And then you'll also be, I guess, something to commemorating the fact that this is the 30th season of the Thunder. And then on July 5th, you'll host the inaugural MLB Draft League prospect game, and that seems like that's the kind of game that's going to draw a lot of interest too. Correct?
Yeah, this will be the last. It's the last game before the MLB draft. So these guys will kind of be showcasing their final game before scouts. It's going to air on MLB.com live stream and then re-air on the MLB network. So for us, just bringing more attention to the Trenton Thunder organization to this area, the baseball in this area, and we'll have a lot of top prospects. I think last year 52 players were drafted out of the MLB Draft League. And so, the teams are going to be 225-man rosters. You should see a lot of these guys go in the draft the following Sunday and Monday.
So we've only got a few minutes left before we wrap up. If anybody that's out there has any questions for either Jeff or Eric or the dog, can we have the dog answer a few questions too? It was nice of I don't know which dog.
That was Rookie who came
Rookie.
up.
It was nice of Rookie to make an appearance.
Well,
but if
he
anybody,
heard Jeff's voice and he wanted to know where it was. Is what exactly what it was.
He's the well-behaved one.
Yeah, Dash is fast asleep on the. I don't know if you can see him, but Dash is sleeping right now.
So if anyone has any questions that they would like to throw at Jeff or Eric before we wrap this up, if you want to throw them into. We do have one question that's been posed is why the Bat Dogs only get to do one inning in the game.
They get tired after a few bats, believe it or not. It's hot, they got all that fur, so it's usually 4 to 5 bats, and they're starting to slow down a little bit, and sometimes they have a big inning. So yeah, it's just they get exhausted real quick.
Another question we have is, besides hopefully being an affiliate in the near future, what else is on the horizon for the Thunder?
Well, I mean, that's our main goal. What we're striving for right now, myself and our ownership group are working towards that. And for us, we just as we're in the MLB Draft League, just be there for the community as they've been there for us, and it's important for us. I could sit here and say it just because, but the community's been there for us for 30 years. We want to celebrate 30 years of baseball in Trenton. I know, hearing stories. Back in the day, nobody thought baseball in Trenton was going to be successful. And here we are 30 years later, and we've been very successful for those 30 years. And we hope to be successful for the next 30 years. I don't know if Eric and I will still be there, but, this certainly, baseball means a lot to us in the city of Trenton. And we appreciate all the fans that have come out and supported us throughout the 30 years. And we look forward to celebrating with them.
And that's one thing that I think, we alluded to it a couple of times, like even no matter what level or which affiliation you have, the ballpark experience is always kind of the same when you go into a Thunder game. You might not see a guy who's rehabbing from the major leagues, but you're going to see, good baseball, and you're going to enjoy the pork roll and whatever else is out there to be offered. So.
Yeah, it's true minor league baseball. And, our players, now that they're at the younger level, have got involved too much. They want to be in the games. They want to be at signing autographs and things like that. So it's cool to see. It brought me back to minor league baseball's changed over the years, and it's brought me back to when I first started, when really it was fans first, autographs, games, all that kind of stuff. It was a lot of fun to see.
And then one last question before we wrap up. Someone says they're going to miss Greg Caserta in the booth, and what's his replacement like?
Yeah, we'll miss Greg too. Greg was great. Greg was a find. He was with the Reading Phillies in Double-A, and through COVID had stopped working there. And when we put the job out, I was lucky enough to get Greg's resume. And Greg's been a great broadcaster, a great friend of. We've had so much success in that broadcast booth. Started with Tom McCarthy and Andy Freed, but yeah, Greg's going to be doing some stuff with MLB Network, and he's moving on to bigger things, and we told him not to forget about us. But we're looking forward to Mike Warren starting. He's been with WBCB over in Bucks County, Merle Reese's radio station, and Mike's a young kid, very passionate about the sport, a local kid, and we're excited to see what he can do.
So you're not only a breeding ground for future major leaguers, but future broadcasting stars as well. So
Yeah,
um,
we've talked about that. There's a lot of them, and we're looking forward to honoring them as well over the next few years and seeing a lot more of them in the bigs as well.
I believe I'm going to be there for Tom McCarthy bobblehead night, so I'm looking forward to that one. But
Talking Tom McCarthy bobblehead.
talking Tom McCarthy bobblehead. So we
Yeah,
want to thank.
I'm here. I'm still here, but I apologize. I lost my picture.
Oh, okay. Well, I just
To let
wanted
you know.
to thank Jeff and Eric for taking the time. As also thank Mike Guilfoyle and Jerry Salzano and Steve Garrison for taking time out of their day to talk to us, and of course Kim and Anna for helping us behind the scenes. Thank everybody who was participating, and looking forward to that start of that season on June 1st.
Thanks so much.
All
Yeah,
right,
we
thank
can't
you
wait.
guys. All right,
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Bye bye.
bye bye.